I don't think the solution to the problem at Manchester United is throwing money at it.
But it's not increasing the debt. If the debt's gone up by 300 million...
The debt will come down. If we're successful in what we're doing at the moment, the debt will naturally come. Like the debt has gone up over the last 4 years because it's been losing money. If we're making money, the opposite will happen.
JEJE Vibe. You know it's JEJE Vibe. Can you feel the vibe?
I'm feeling it.
It's JEJE Vibe. Can you feel the vibe? JEJE Vibe. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to JEJE Vibe. You know I got the amazing queen with me.
Thanks, my love.
So you guys saw from the beginning of the video, we got to talk about Manchester United.
Finally.
Oh my God.
I am tired of somebody complaining on how shitty their game has been.
I'm a fan of Man United. Yes, if you guys are new, don't know what Man United stands for, I'm like, I don't know where you planet, which planet are you coming from? But it's a soccer team in the UK. And they have been one of the top in the world when it comes to soccer.
The Red Devils.
The Red Devils, famously known as the Red Devils, because that name is now looking like, I don't think they should be calling themselves Red Devils
anymore. Man. It's time to start pouring water.
Like, I think it's just like crazy. It's beginning to have a bad omen to the club.
Ferguson left at his peak, winning 19th and 20th gold for United and completing his prophecy by finally beating Liverpool. And honestly, it didn't matter who took over after him. It was a no-win situation from the start. Every team has its life cycle, and by the early 2000s and 10s, that great United squad was on its last legs. Fergie had squeezed every drop of success out of what he had. So
since Alex Ferguson has left, who was one of the coaches that made Man United what Man United is today. With so many trophies he won in Europe and also the domestic league, which is the Premier League, the English Premier League. He has won crazy amount of trophies. Over 30-something trophies.
That's
total.
Amazing.
Crazy. Giving Man United the name, great players like David Beckham has come through his coaching. Great players like Ronaldo, Scholes, Gary Neville, Ferdinand, Giggs. There's so many great names. So when you hear about Man United, you're supposed to be hearing something good. But ever since Alex Ferguson left, we have gone through several coaches. David Moyes.
So when Moyes stepped in, he wasn't just replacing a legend who held the job for 26 years. He also had to rebuild a powerful but aging squad. David didn't stand a chance.
Louis van Gaal, Mourinho. The list goes on.
Hey,
Solskjaer,
the last one before the new one now.
Oh my
you
God.
didn't like that one.
Ten Hag.
However, I want to take it further. Moyes' replacement's identity is also irrelevant, as is the identity of those who followed him. New coaches, new players, none of it mattered, because a top club without a clear long-term football strategy is doomed from the start.
Man, over 600 million he spent on bringing new players. 600 million pounds.
And they still lost.
And still nothing. He can say that he gave them FA Cup. But it got to a time when everybody, the whole fans, has always been coming against the Glazer, the family that owns majority stake, or even like
that decided to finance the club. A profiting club.
It was not exactly the warmest welcome. Despite the rocky start, the Glazers wasted no time getting to work. In their first year in charge, they expanded Old Trafford and made at least 4 game-changing signings to form the team's backbone for years. On top of that, United secured a record-breaking sponsorship deal with American insurance giant AIG. After a series of scandals, harmony really appeared in the leadership. Ferguson, who was trusted, was again given full carte blanche for all transfers and stop distracting on other issues is most happy about this. As a result, Manchester dominates not only in England but also throughout Europe, reaching the Champions League final 2 years in a row and taking 1 trophy.
The Glazer, the American family, they own Manchester United right now. They announced that they were going to be selling. The Man United fans, they were rooting for this. They wanted them to leave the club.
Hey, they should have taken the opportunity.
Around that time, news broke that the Glazers were selling a significant stake to INOS, a British chemical giant owned by billionaire Jim Ratcliffe. Ratcliffe, who has a history of investing big in sports, acquired 27.7% of the club for £1.25 billion. Of that, £200 million was immediately earmarked for the much-needed reconstruction of Old Trafford. But the biggest headline wasn't just the sale, it was the buyer himself. Jim Ratcliffe, the second richest man in the UK with a fortune nearing £30 billion, stepped into the spotlight. A Manchester native and a lifelong United fan, his arrival initially brought hope and excitement to the fan base. But as time passed, many supporters quickly grew disillusioned with the new direction. But more on that later. Ratcliffe's company, INOS, now oversees all football operations at the club.
But now it's looking like, oh my God, they should have sold. Because they only choose to sell 25, I think about 25 or 20 something percent to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And that's the person we were listening to.
The current CEO.
Not really the current CEO, it's just because the Glazers, they don't really come out and give.
Hey, if you're running it, I guess you're the CEO.
Yeah, so he's running it with the team now. So he bought this 25% stake to control everything that happens to do with football, the way the whole.
Yeah, but if it's 25%, you still don't have a control. Your control is limited.
That was what Gary Neville was saying. Gary Neville was like, these people for the last 10 years, the Glazer family has been taking money, profits, or what they deem as profits, from the club.
Refinancing, continuously refinance the club.
Malcolm Glazer passed away in 2014 after a long illness. He never even visited Old Trafford, but his death didn't really change much for United since the club had been run by his kids for years already. By the way, now that the annual payments have been reduced to a minimum and it's possible to invest hundreds of millions in transfers, maybe we could finally expect investments in infrastructure. No way. Instead, our heroes have implemented a practice that is absolutely unique to the football world. The family started taking money out of the club as dividends. For years, while United's debt kept rising, the Glazers regularly pulled millions out of the club to line their pockets. Meanwhile, Old Trafford was falling apart. There were holes in the roof, rust everywhere, and even mice were taking up residence.
So, and he's not even coming against them because he knows, like, oh, those are the boss. But yeah. But he's just looking for ways to go about it.
You know,
the finances.
You've got to get the house in order.
But what
and if you look at the reason the debt is at the level it is at the moment, which is
730 million.
It's
plus the player
650 plus a bit of overdraft. Yeah, but that's increased by 330 million in the last 4 years because the club's been spending so much more than it's been earning.
Because they won't put money in.
That's not. No, that's just because it's spending more than.
I know, but if you make mistakes,
it's a bloated organisation and made mistakes on recruitment.
But you're a far better businessman than anybody in this room and a lot of people in this country. You'll pay for your mistakes. You're the type of guy that I think would pay for your mistakes. Why do they not pay for their mistakes that they've made in the last 10 years? You'll put some equity back in. Why? The fans are now having to pay increased ticket prices. People are losing their jobs. People are not getting fed meals anymore, but former players are having money taken away from them, and they took £200 million out. Now, I know they're your business partners. I know you can't criticise them. I know where you're at with this, but there's an element here of it's staring us in the face.
I can't.
And after this whole interview,
the interview whereby the priorities now are misplaced, getting rid of the staffers.
It's crazy.
Layoffs. And the stadium now with water leaks and everything to the audience seats, really?
So after this, they announced a new stadium.
Hey, before that, also, how he mentioned that by the end of the year, they're going to run out of money.
We mentioned it a couple of times today. It's not known. Manchester United would have run out of money at the end of this year. November this year, the club runs out of cash.
Do you realise how...
That's sort of quite a big...
But do you realise how bad that is to hear? I know that's a fact, by the way, because over the last 2 or 3 years, I think the fans who obviously got an interest in the business side of the club have been tracking the club's desperate situation, the mismanagement over the last 10 years. This is the richest football club in the world when it comes to revenue.
Yeah.
But because of...
Top three of us up there.
Top three in the world.
Yeah.
And it's having to cut £40,000 from ex-players and now removing food from members of staff in the canteen. I mean,
but the alternative isn't very tenable, is it? Which is the club goes bust at Christmas. We don't want that.
No, absolutely.
We don't want that.
No, we absolutely don't want that. But we also have to, I think, make decisions in light of sort of the impact that they're going to have. Because, you know, United, as you know, you're a fan, has a soul, has a heart.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to food and Manchester United staff being fed, the idea of me eating differently than my compatriots who are in the office, the kitmen, the groundsmen, the people who are, to be fair, the sort of my friends at the club, because I was in there for 25 years, I find that difficult from an inequality perspective.
Yeah. However, I mean, I get that, Gary, and I understand that, but you have to deal with. We can't put our head in the sand. We have to deal with the problem.
Yeah. Like, how can you say all of this? The club is in debt, and the next thing you're announcing a new stadium. With what money?
It's just to fool you, all the fans all over again. Hey, also they asked him about the increments in price ticket now, because he not too long ago he increased the ticket, and now he's saying there's gonna be more increment in ticket.
What are you coming to see when the team is not even performing?
One thing that the fans are most worried about at the moment is ticket prices.
Yeah.
What message have you got for them? Can you give them some comfort that they're not, I mean, obviously the prices have gone up in certain areas for £66 and there's no concessions now.
Well, I mean, I think...
Are we going to see ticket prices increase again next season?
A little bit, yes, we will, but not a lot.
How much by, do we know?
No, not yet. We'll know in a couple of weeks. It's not going to be a big amount, but
what factors are in that decision? So let's say the club's losing money, but because the fans are going to be absolutely livid if the ticket prices go up again, and it's obviously will have happened twice in a very short period of time.
Okay, so my guidance to the management team is that, you know, we have to look after the faithful supporters, and we have to value the fact that the support of those supporters at the game is worth points, which it is, isn't it? Because the more...
Who are the faithful supporters and who are the... Sort of, what do you mean by that? They're all faithful, aren't they? In some way, I mean, they all turn up every... that stadium's full every week.
The faithful supporters are the supporters who've got a season ticket and they go to the games. And the faithful supporter is the guy who's got a season ticket. He goes to the top 6 games, but he also goes to see the other games as well. He doesn't just pick the top 3 games and then sell his ticket on to somebody else for the other games. In my view, that's a proper supporter. I don't know whether you agree with that, but that's where I am.
So
you know, because so I think, and it is worth points. You know, if you look at the Kop, you look at the Stretford end, that's worth points, isn't it? It's, you know, the more intimidating that atmosphere, the louder. We saw it in the second half against Arsenal. I mean, that really lifted the team in the second half. I thought the fans were fantastic on Sunday. So the ticket pricing has to be fair and it has to be affordable to the local people. And there are different, you know, we're talking about, you know, some people who live in Manchester, there may be some people who come across from Hong Kong or come up from London or something like that. It's a different group of people, really, in a way. So I think the ticket pricing can be different depending upon who we're targeting. And then you've got the younger people and you've got the
prices, basically. Yeah. You're looking to structure it.
Yeah, and we should do that.
And then now, all of a sudden, a brand new, circus-looking
Crazy.
Stadium.
The three masts, the trident, visible from 40 kilometers, 200 meters high. So this becomes a global destination. Normally, a stadium would take 10 years to build. We half that time, 5 years. How do we do that? By prefabrication, by using the network of Manchester Ship Canal, bringing it back to a new life, shipping in components, 160 of them, Meccano-like, and then we rebuild the Old Trafford station, and that becomes the pivot, the processional way to the stadium, welcoming and at the heart of a new sports-led neighborhood. It's walkable, it's well served by public transport, it's endowed by nature, it learns from the past, it creates streets, it's a mixed-use mini-city. So what makes a global destination? What makes something so special? It's teamwork. It's the best brains, the civic leaders, the owners, the consultants, the engineers, the architects, the fans. The list is so long. It's a team effort. That is at the heart of the success of this project.
What do you think about the stadium?
Hey, why are you asking me that?
It's 100,000 capacity.
Hey, we've seen some news reporters now in the UK compare it to other stadiums. Even the American football stadiums that are in college that takes more than 100,000 seating space.
You know, London is, the UK is small. So let's not compare it to.
Okay,
so
well, they're the one comparing it.
Yeah.
Actually building it and moving in, it's just basically a giant tent. I mean, it is like, your mate's right, it's a circus. I'm sorry.
Okay, look, let's look
It's hardly St Paul's Cathedral.
Let's look at some other stadiums from around the world to see how we'll compare. So, the largest stadium in the world at the moment is the Rungwando 1st of May Stadium in Pyongyang. It has the capacity of 114,000, and it is home to North Korean's women's football team. And look at it, that's got an interesting sort of tent design there. Next up, we've got Michigan Stadium. This is nicknamed the Big House, which takes 107,601. That lucky one person. It was built in 1927, and it's the home of the University of Michigan's football team. I think they're called the Spartans. American football, huge sport in the US, of course. Then we come in third in the world. We go to Barcelona in Spain. The Nou Camp, its official capacity is 105,000, although 120,000 managed to squeeze in for the 1986 European Cup against...
Like, when it comes to what they have there in London, that's going to be like the biggest. Like, I think O2 Arena is like 80,000 people.
Hey, my own thing is that building a new stadium is not a bad idea, because it seems like other clubs up there in terms of having new stadiums now, having better team, being more structured. But you cannot have misplaced priorities now and thinking that the next solution is to build a new stadium whereby all the players are expensive.
The players are hard to maintain. Right now, they're trying to cut a whole lot of the big players away. We've seen Rashford move from Man United to, he's now on loan to Aston Villa.
Yeah, it's sad, but it's been on the cards the last year or two, particularly the last few months. The new manager come in. Clearly, they didn't get on. The manager got no reaction from Marcus. The strange thing for me, I thought when Marcus was going to leave Man United, or certainly going on, he was going to go abroad to try something new adventure for him, a different league, different challenge. So to go to Villa kind of surprised me a little bit, but I always think if he's lost a hunger at Man United, how is he going to get it at Aston Villa? Because that's what he's lost.
The same thing with Sancho. Yeah, Sancho is now in Chelsea.
Chelsea are considering ripping up their 25 million agreement with Manchester United for Jadon Sancho this summer. They would have to pay a significant fee to get out of the deal. Manchester United do not want Jadon Sancho back and are planning for next season without him. should he return, INOS would want him to move on quickly to raise funds for Aram's squad overhaul.
We have Antony. He's now playing for Real Betis. He's on loan.
I think we all owe this man an apology. And if you don't follow world football, let me introduce you to Antony, one of the biggest memes in the sport. 2 years ago, Manchester United paid 95 million euros to sign him from the Dutch First Division, which made him the second most expensive player in the club's history. And they signed him because he was just a 22-year-old who had scored 24 goals and assisted 22 in 52 appearances, winning the Dutch Championship twice and the Dutch Cup once. Now, when he moved to England, though, he just became a meme. Not just because he was making whatever these faces are one time when he was getting substituted on, but because he scored just 12 goals in nearly 100 appearances since joining. I mean, that is horrible, but now some people are saying it wasn't even his fault. See, he now has 3 goals, 1 assist, and 3 Man of the Match awards in just 4 appearances for Real Betis, which is why some people are just blaming Manchester United for everything. Then we got other people just saying La Liga is trash and that's why he's performing well there. Regardless of that, though, this season is actually very important for him. He turns 25 in just a couple of weeks, so if he wants to get his career back on track, it's quite literally now or never.
All these players are the big players in Man United, and now they're all on loan because Man United can't afford to keep paying them. £300,000 a week.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
And you can barely afford food in the cafeteria now.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. That sounds like a huge misplaced priorities.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm just going to take 2 or 3 examples. £40,000 was taken away from the former Players Association. Now, that's not the players that played under Sir Alex Ferguson or even in the last 10 years. The players from the 1960s and 70s.
Yep.
I look at that and have a little bit of knowledge of the club, obviously having been there for 25, 30 years. I just look at that and I think it's £40,000 from players who are giving a lot back to sort of the local community. They're obviously big supporters of United. Why not look at that 40,000 and put Harry Maguire and Bruno in a dinner? Sell 1,000 tickets for 30, 40, 50 quid. Raise the money through a dinner. Maybe do a raffle and auction. Give the ex-players their money. Yeah. And do it in a way whereby you're not looking like it's a cruel decision, which it is. Why would that not be looked at as a shopping list of things that... Oh, that's got a health warning to it. They're former players. They're people who do a lot of good for them. I'm not talking about the sort of... This isn't the players who played in my era, the players from the 70s and 80s. Why would that decision be made?
Well, nobody suggested that. Because I would have supported that. But
Jim, that alarms me, because if people aren't suggesting that to you at the club, then...
I don't think the people at the club are not... They're not... You know most of the people at the club. They're not cruel or heartless people. But I think...
But it's 40 grand.
Yeah, I know, but, you know...
Harry and Bruno can just turn up for a dinner, raise 50, 60, 70, 100 grand for them. Why didn't the current players put a grand each in for them? You know, things like that, if it came to me and I was looking at a decision like that, and these guys who've been putting so much time into the club over so many years, you know, it just looks... Why can't we reinstate that?
Well, maybe we can, I don't know. I can have a look at it.
So that's my United state right now. BC... debts, and a new stadium announced.
more debt.
More debt. So we'll see how it goes.
And hey, they're gonna pass the payment to the fans now.
It's the fans that will feel it.
And hey, would you want to spend that much money watching the game that doesn't even give you excitement anymore?
At all.
Are you sure you're still a fan?
You're watching a Man United game now, you're hoping that they win. Like, this is not guaranteed that you're going to be entertained when you're watching Man United. It's not just about the football now. It's all about the theatrics and financial stock markets and how they're going to make money. That's all they care about.
It's bad on the CEO now releasing that renders 3D stadium just to fool the fans now.
It's crazy.
Man U has a lot of issues to deal with.
A whole lot of issues. Ronaldo came out and had an interview with Piers Morgan where he aired the whole thing out before he left the club.
Listen, I don't care. I'm always... People should listen the truth. Yes, I feel betrayed, and I felt that some people that don't want me here, not only this year, but last year too.
They didn't want you to go there at all?
No.
Really?
Yes. The owners of the club, they don't...
The Glazers?
The Glazers, they don't they don't care about the club. I mean, professional sport. As you know, Manchester is a marketing club. They will get his money from the marketing. The sports, they don't really care, in my opinion.
Do you ever talk to them, the Glazers?
Never.
Never?
Never.
Not since you've gone back?
No. They give all the power to the president, the sport directive.
A lot of Manchester United fans are very negative about the Glazers. They think they're taking all the money out and not spending enough on players, on the infrastructure issues you talked about. Do you think the fans are right?
The fans, they're always right. I think the fans should know the truth, should know that the players, we want the best for the club. I want the best of the club. This is why I'm coming to Manchester United. This is why I love this club. But you have some things inside the club which don't help to Manchester reach the top level as City, Liverpool, and even now Arsenal, for example, which is complicated. It's difficult. It's hard. In my opinion, it will be hard for Manchester to be in the top of the game the next 2-3 years.
If the Glazers stay as owners.
I'm not mean the Glazers, but
the structure.
The structure. As Picasso say, you have to destroy it to rebuild. And if they can start from me, for me it's not a problem. I'm always gonna say I love Manchester United. I love the fans. They're always on my side. But if they want to do it different era, different generation, they have to change many, many things.
And it's still not fixed. The issue in Man United is still not fixed. It's a whole lot of drama going on, and we are here to observe. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Are you still a fan?
The channel, shit, I'm a fan. I'm not a fan. It's all in the love of soccer. I'm watching soccer at the end of the day. So, we'll see how it goes with Man United and their whole shenanigans, what they're going to do. We're here to observe. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye-bye now.
JEJE Vibe. You know it. JEJE Vibe.
Commercial control still remains tightly in the hands of the Glazers. Over the past year, INOS has replaced nearly all of United's top management, leading to significant changes, including a historic summer transfer window. United made over 100 million euros from player sales for the first time since Ronaldo's departure. What made this even more remarkable was that these weren't blockbuster deals. 7 academy players were part of the list. Under Ed Woodward, such small sales probably wouldn't have been on the agenda. On the infrastructure front, Old Trafford has finally seen some long-awaited renovations. Ratcliffe has also shared his ambitious vision for the future, a massive new stadium in Manchester that could seat 100,000 fans. Not only would it be United's new home, but it could also host the England national team. This grand project is estimated to cost around £2 billion. However, as we approach the 1-year mark of INEOS's involvement, many fans are already frustrated with the new direction. While there was optimism in the early months, things took a sour turn in the spring when the club launched a major cost-cutting initiative. This affected multiple areas, including reduced funding for charity programs, pay cuts for stewards and stadium staff, and layoffs of nearly a quarter of the club's office workforce. Perhaps the most shocking move came last fall, when Ratcliffe personally informed Sir Alex Ferguson of his resignation as a club ambassador, ending a role he had held for over 12 years. Around the same time, United unexpectedly raised ticket prices mid-season, eliminating discounts for children and seniors. This decision sparked outrage among fans, as even the Glazers had avoided raising prices in recent years. These changes come after what was widely regarded as the worst season in United's history, and with the current season shaping up to be even worse. Fans have been particularly vocal, pointing out that Ratcliffe, as someone from the local community, should understand the economic realities of Manchester compared to London. Yet, under his leadership, the club is becoming less accessible to its loyal supporters, and the list of grievances against the new shareholder keeps growing. So, is there a moral to this whole story? I think so. It all comes down to perspective and how you choose to interpret it. From a business standpoint, it's tough to fault the Glazers. They saw the potential to turn Manchester United into a global money-making machine, and they executed that vision flawlessly. They acquired an incredible asset at a reasonable price with minimal risk. This asset generated a steady cash flow for nearly 2 decades, which they cleverly used to secure loans for their other ventures. For creditors, United was a gold mine that just kept giving. Even the sale of small shares and dividend payments were drops in the bucket compared to the billions they gained from the skyrocketing value of the United brand. No matter how you slice it, their commercial strategy worked. But let's not ignore the other side of the coin. The team that once dominated English football has become a mid-tier competitor, occasionally scrapping for a spot in European competitions. And yet, despite this fall from grace, United remains England's most valuable club, even pulling in record revenue during its worst ever Premier League season. Hats off to Ed Woodward for that one. Now, if we shift perspectives, it's clear that United and its fans were victims of ruthless capitalist exploitation. The brand was milked for all it was worth, costing the club over £1.5 billion. But beyond all the numbers, investments, reports, and debts, there's something far more important at stake: time. The Glazers robbed generations of fans of their time. Financial problems can be resolved, debts will eventually be paid. United isn't Portsmouth. No one will let things reach that level. In the grand scheme of history, 20 years under the Glazers is just a blip. After every period of decline, there's always a rebirth. That's the cycle of life. But for the millions of fans worldwide who lived through the fall of the most dominant team in Premier League history, this time can never be reclaimed.